When my team told me today that today's training was one of the single best trainings that they have ever heard, I knew I couldn't gatekeep it. In fact, this is a training that I know my team will consistently go back to and listen to over and over and over again. Welcome back to Final Expense Telesales. My name is Dana Neeson, and happy Friday. The video that you're about to watch is going to teach you how to find yourself in your script while still understanding the things that we need to understand about our client so we can help them feel good about saying yes. There are so many gold nuggets in this training. I can't even think of all of them. If you find value from this training, please do me a favor, give this video a like, share it with someone who you think can learn from it. Post a comment, let me know what you've learned and what you're going to implement. At the end of the day, I know that I will never have the opportunity to work with every single one of you, and that's okay. I'm still here to build a community where people can come to and visit and help you get better, share best practices, and continue to get stronger every single day. Welcome to Empower Life Group and join our team training. So today we're going to talk about finding yourself in the script. This is a really important topic, and it's not necessarily going to be, we're not going to be role playing, right? Like we're going to be talking about the number one thing that people struggle with. And we're going to have people speak to it, right? I'm going to ask Chris to speak to it. I'm going to ask Sydney to speak to it. I'm going to ask other people who have been here and have had breakthroughs find themselves again. The worst part about having a script is thinking that you have to change who you are, or you lose a piece of who you are because you feel like you have to read these words on a paper verbatim. Right? And you don't. Like, think about what it takes for me to have to write a script so that you have some sort of framework. Like, sometimes I actually think that I should just make it bullet points. Like, take away the script. This is your bullet points. This is what you have to get and collect in each section, because those words are my voice. Right? It's not your voice. And so how do you find yourself in the script? Well, I think you need to get rid of it for a minute. I think you need to get rid of it for a minute and conceptually understand what we are trying to accomplish in each section. Question number one, do the sections have to go in order every single time? That wasn't a rhetorical question.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No. And someone tell me why not?
Because if someone's not ready to have an emotional conversation, forcing an emotional conversation is causing a lot of sales resistance.
Correct.
And it's going to piss people off.
But there are some people that are ready for that, right? And they're ready to have that conversation. And then that's when you feel like, oh, this works. Um, so today I wanted to talk about knowing what we are trying to accomplish in our sales calls. And then I want to challenge you guys to create your own bullet points. And I don't know what we're going to do with them, but you're going to send them to me and and I'm going to look at them. Maybe we'll do another training with these bullet points next week. But if I just do it for you, right, and you just sit back here and passively listen or check Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, if I just do it for you and then I just send it to you, what are you really learning? Right? So now you have these bullet points. Now what? Right? So let's talk about each section first. What are we trying to accomplish from each section on a high level? When is too deep too much? And when do you need to know to pivot and move to another place? These are the themes that I'm hearing on the sales calls that you're sending to me. We're either trying to follow it too verbatim and not listening to the customer because our customers are telling us where they're at. We're just not listening, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about when is it too deep? When are you asking too many why questions? Because there's definitely a point where it's like, did you even earn the permission to ask all these why questions? Are you sharing anything? Is this a push and pull, or is it just like take, 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 and no give? Um, and then how to know when to pivot and abort ship. Someone who was in the live dials with me a couple days ago, I wrote in the chat, abandon Discovery, 911, leave Discovery. And I put 911 in the chat because we were going way too deep and it was so confrontational. And then like when we're just so focused here, we forget to listen, right? We forget to listen to the person who's on the phone with us and what do they need? What do they need? Okay, so let's do a collaboration. We're going to do a collaboration. I'm going to pull up a Google Doc and we're going to create some bullet points together, but I do want you to make your own. All right, we're going to start with, get rid of this AI. There we go. Okay, introduction. Okay, you all have an introduction that I have written for you because I have to have something written for you, right? Because as a new agent, you need a safety net, you need something to read, you need to know what has generally worked. That has generally worked well for me, but is it the words on the paper that has worked well for me, or is it me? Like if you could weight it, right? Maybe 20, 30% the words, 80, 70% maybe it's the person. Okay, so what are we trying to accomplish in our introduction?
Keep them on the phone to get to discovery.
Say that again.
Attention.
Keep them on the phone to get to discovery.
Okay, well, we definitely want to be able to keep them on the phone.
Handle some objections.
How do we keep them on the phone?
I think by being disarming, like using tone and language that is easy for them to hear and doesn't trigger them to the best of our ability.
Okay, you guys are giving me good, like high level things of what we want to accomplish, but how do we accomplish them?
I think tonality is something very important that you
Yeah.
have to come across as someone being very certain, not wishy-washy or unsure. You know, need to disarm them and make them feel like hey, they're talking to somebody that they should be listening to.
If somebody was calling you, like we're immediately judging that person, right? In the first 10 seconds, I'm judging this person who's calling me if I happen to pick up the phone. I am judging them hardcore in the first 10 seconds. Am I going to hang up on this person or are they worth my time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so think about that from your side. If somebody was calling you, what would it take for you to give someone another 10, 15 seconds? What type of tone and language would it take for you to buy you another 10 seconds? What do you have to sound like?
Non-attached and helpful.
A familiar tone, somebody that they might know.
Not a telemarketer.
Not a robot.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Chet Holmes, but you know what he says is even for women, if you lower your octave just a little bit, you know, that people tend to listen a little bit more. So I think tone and uh, knowing what you're talking about, just coming across as knowledgeable.
Grant put something very interesting in the chat, and I actually want Chris to speak to this. So Grant put the word professional. Why do you guys think I stopped there? And Chris, why do you think I'm asking you specifically to speak to the word professional?
Oh my gosh, because nobody wants to talk to a professional. You want to talk to your friend. Like, I guess when you think about it, like when you go to the doctor's office, you're expecting that. But on the phone, like if a doctor just called you up and was very professional to talk about your health, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be the same for me. That's a big problem I was doing. Before when I didn't care so much, I was just myself, and I really, it didn't matter to me. Here now, like I want it so bad, more than anything that I've ever wanted, that I'm trying to be like this perfect agent. So I'm trying to like do everything that like, exactly the way it's supposed to be. And so I was trying to be extremely professional, and nobody wanted to talk to me. And as soon as I let go of that and I started being myself, which is, a more charismatic guy with character, and people were more in tune to give me 10, 30 more seconds. When I stopped just verbatimly reading, the intro, and I was just me talking, uh, they didn't hang up right away. And, I bought 10 to 30 more seconds. So I feel like if you're too professional, then in this sale, especially with final expense, these are normal, broken, beat up people. We're not going to a final, what is it, a financial planner. We're not helping them with some large annuity or setting up their, retirement. We're trying to figure out how we can help them, and we need to connect on their level. And most of them are not to the level of this professional. They all have 8 to 1,500 on Social Security. So that type of person is not the life I believe that they live in. That's not the people that they communicate with. So when someone comes across like that to them, it's sales, it's pushy, it's telemarketer. It's not somebody that they can relate to. So that's what I found when I was trying to be so professional.
Good. And then as soon as you change that, right? Literally as soon as you change that, because we were able to identify that when we were talking,
Mhm.
you just started in to be, like, hey, Chris, right? Hey, it's just Dana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just reaching out to you. So like I'm saying the same words.
Mhm.
We're all trying to say some variation of the same words, but we're not manipulating our voice to try to get those people to want to stay on the phone with us.
Yeah, that's it. I did change my voice too. I wasn't me. I tried to be like what I thought they would want to hear. And so like I even changed my voice, my tone, and you can change your tone, but man, changing your voice doesn't work. It's almost like it's fake, because it's not, if we go back to Danelle Delgado being congruent, it's fake. You're not yourself. So like they pick up on that, and it might just be some instinct of us as humans that we can just tell. So um,
Thank you. Okay, so the goal is keep them on the phone and buy more time, right? It's not to get them to say, "Oh yeah, I did fill out that form." Right? That's not the goal. The goal is not to have a gotcha moment and to say, "But I have your date of birth and your beneficiary." Like we'll get there and we can use it if we need to right away, but like we're being judged in the first 10 seconds, right? And our clients have all the control in the first 10 seconds. And if we don't act like this person that picks up the phone is life or death for me to keep them on the phone, then we're just gonna and we're passive about it and we just let them hang up and then we're like, well, these leads suck. Well, was it the lead or did you sound like someone no one wants to talk to? Okay, so that's our goal for the introduction. It's not to memorize a words on script. That's not the goal. The goal is to keep them on the phone by being engaging, friendly, and like you're the best part of their day.
How about getting them curious as to what you're talking about? You know,
Yeah, curious tone is super, super important. Like you want to get them curious. So first, like the feelings that I want them to have is, oh, this person's different. Huh, they're kind of friendly. Why are they calling me?
I was listening to Caden Sanchez the other day, and he said, and I'm going to just kind of paraphrase, but he said something to the effect that you probably won't even remember doing this,
Mhm.
but it looks like you might have filled something out. I don't know, it was like maybe a week ago. And they'll be like, "Oh, okay. What is it?" You know, and that kind of gets them curious about what you're talking about.
Yes, but what happens if that lead just hit your CRM 30 seconds ago?
Yeah, no, I understand. Well, then of course you want to tailor that, but
Right. So
but
like,
if you're
and
calling
again,
like if you already know it's like a little older lead that you're calling,
yeah,
which most of the people are going to be older, right? So that works pretty well, I think.
good. Yeah. And if that is working to keep people on the phone, like if your pickup to conversation rate is 50%, because that's the goal, then keep doing what you're doing. If it's not 50%, then there's room
Right.
for
Yeah.
growth, right? Good. Okay. So introduction, if we can't keep people on the phone, the rest of it doesn't even matter. So we're trying to memorize a script for people we can't even have a conversation with. So introduction is everything. You got to keep them on the phone. Okay, someone tell me, you can do it in the chat or you can unmute and talk. What is the goal of discovery? Why do we have a discovery phase? And we'll talk about when you use it and when you abort ship. But what is
Emotion,
Or, oh,
like we're finding out who they're protecting basically in discovery and creating emotion.
and
yes. Okay, I'll put that. So who
What
Gathering.
they have. Oh, go Catalina.
Uh, uh, gathering information, trying to know them,
what type of information?
what they're looking for, who are they trying to protect? Well, I guess that's
I'm just typing what Joe put in the chat.
What they've already done to take care of this.
so discover their past, their present, and then where they want to be. That's my overall understanding of discovery.
What else are you guys
Yeah.
writing?
And
So here's an analogy I heard recently that's helps me without even having to have the questions. And right now where they're at sucks. They're on Suck Island, and I want to know emotionally three emotions and three logical reasons why where they're at sucks. And then they want to be on Great Island, and I want to know three emotions and three logical reasons why that would be great, and then help them fill that gap.
Yeah.
Is that a new show on Hulu?
Suck Island. I'm watching that show.
Yeah.
You want to go to
And then building on what Tim said, I'd like to ask questions that have them see that their behavior and their actions, there's a gap between that and what they value. So I want them to state to me what they value, what they want for their family, and then I want them to tell me what's going on so that they can see for themselves there's a pretty large gap. And then the solution is what I'm offering. So I'm offering to fill that gap more than an insurance policy. The insurance policy is a vehicle for them to align their behavior with their values.
Okay, good. So we have who they're protecting, trying to get some emotion, gathering information, where they're at, where they've been, where they want to be, how long they've been looking, what got them thinking about this, Suck Island to Great Island, find out what the need is and have the customer verbalize it, understanding how to fill the gap. Perfect. Benson put uncovering possible objections, concerns. So I would say, like, okay, Steve put why now? Consequences of inaction. Okay, I'm just copying in here in the chat. If I had someone on the phone and I had to get through discovery in 30 seconds, and like that's the only amount of time that I had, I would probably be right in here for the most for that. Like if I had to choose, I would probably be focusing on where they've been, where they're at, and where they want to be is like the most important thing for me because I know strategy wise, if I know where they've been and they've been looking for a few months and they haven't done anything yet, well, then I can probably conclude that it's probably price that stopped them and no one's taken the time to educate them or hold their hand or make them feel safe, right? I can conclude that because I've had thousands of conversations. Where they're at, I definitely need to know if they have anything in place or if they have nothing at all, because then I need to understand when I do give them some options, I have to make it relevant to what their current situation is and where they want to be. Well, do they want a cremation? Do they want a burial? Do they want to leave extra money behind? Even without asking any whys, if I can understand that, like logically, then I know, especially if I have someone that's super closed up, I know that the more that I get to know them and talk to them and help them and educate them, I can start breaking down those walls and kind of circle back to some of this stuff. So in discovery, what's really cool is you don't have to get all of this information in one section before you move on. Like it's a really good goal to try to get it throughout. You might not like I don't want you putting all this pressure on yourself to be like I have to get all of this in discovery, but I have to put it in like a discovery section for you because it really wouldn't make sense for me to put why now in education. But I want you to know that that's something that you might want to need to know. So we have some urgency there, right? So understanding what we need to know, how it's going to benefit us, how it's going to benefit the client, how we're going to help them bridge the gap. It's more of, okay, at some point, I'm going to have to get this information. Best case scenario, I have a Mildred and she just opens up to me and I get all this information right now. And by the time I'm done with discovery, she's like, ready to go. And now I just need to like make sure she understands what type of policy we're getting and how much coverage we should look for. And then it's just a matter of what can she afford. Like that's our best case scenario. That's kind of how the script is designed. But as sales professionals, it doesn't always go that way. Like we can't force someone to follow our script. We have to understand what we need to try to collect. And if we have to pivot and circle back, that's okay. Right? That is okay. Someone else tell me if we're missing anything from discovery. What else would you like to be able to understand about them? If anything.
Who are they trying to protect? I think that's very important.
Right here, the number one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Finding out their expressed needs and then the needs that they don't know what they need until you help them discover it.
Say that one more time.
So finding out their need that they express and helping them find out the need that they didn't even know, like in the back of their mind that they never expressed.
That they never expressed.
The inner logical needs, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to write that.
Okay.
Can you give me an example?
Like I said in the chat, what Clark says, it's I want to take them into that place where that they the dark place in their mind that they don't want to talk about.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just helping them feel comfortable talking about it, not maybe necessarily things they didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If looked in the past why they didn't do anything. Yes. So this goes right here where they're at, where they've been, where they want to be. Where they've been is so important. Like those are the clues, those are the keys to the kingdom, where they've been. If you don't understand where they've been and what stopped them from making a change, you're going to get the same objection as the 10 agents that came before you. So that's a super important one. Okay. So we have a bullet points and overview for kind of information that we need to get to gather in our discovery phase. All right. What is the point of education?
Help them
So that way
understand
they
the
know
value.
they're not getting like $100,000 for $10 a month. Like,
Man,
because I feel like I've gotten that
Expectation.
objection
Yeah.
many times. Just, oh, and also like you want to be the professional, like the person who teaches them that they trust.
the trusted advisor.
Well, that's kind of here, manage expectations, but yes, to prevent price objections. To help them find the actual need and increase your credibility. Yep, increase credibility. On the surface level, right? Most people think the point of education is to help them understand the difference between term and whole life, right? That's the surface point of education, in case you read this back and you forget what that was. The surface point of education is to teach them term versus whole life. That's not the actual point, right? So that's good. The actual point of what you guys have already talked about is managing expectations on price and coverage. Like that is the biggest point of education. And just because someone understands that term ends and whole life doesn't mean they're going to justify $80 a month for 10,000 of coverage. One thing has nothing to do with the other. So why this part right here, the gathering information, was like number one importance for me is because I use that stuff that I collect and I bring it back here. You told me earlier. Why are we spending so much time finding out what stopped them before if we're not going to bring it back here where it's relevant? So you told me earlier, that you were getting quotes for 20,000 for $150 and you felt that was a little expensive. Is it okay if I share with you maybe why you might feel that way or maybe help provide some more context to that? So if I can bring their story into this section, A, they're going to pay more attention to it because it has to do with them and their experience. And B, I'm going to start helping them feel good about maybe looking at less coverage, because it's not that you're going to find cheaper coverage for 20,000. It's that in order to get a cheaper price, we might have to come down in coverage. And are we going to be okay with that? That's what managing expectations is. Right? I'm looking for 20,000, but they've been looking for 3 months and haven't bought anything yet. Why? Right? Why? And it usually happens right here in education. And so a lot of times in this moment is where I kind of let people go. Because if I can't control or change their mind or help them see things in a different perspective, like if they're 80 and they have cancer and 20,000 for $50 is not going to be an option, I'm having that conversation here. Especially if I figured out in discovery that that's what's been holding them back. Otherwise, now I'm going to go through the whole thing and give them the same freaking quotes as someone else. And now I have to justify it after I give them quotes. And that's not going to work because we've already told them price. So here I have to take them from where they're at to where I want them to be, which is Are we going to be okay now that you understand why you can't get that, that much coverage for what you can afford? Are you going to be okay going down to find something that's affordable so your family at least has something? Yeah, I think I'd be okay with that. Okay, and why would you be okay with that? We'll talk about whys in a minute because I think some of us are getting on the Disneyland train of the whys, and that you got to find a balance there. You have to like pick and choose how many times you ask why to people and like really gauge if they're ready for you to ask them that as often as you are, because you abuse that and you haven't earned the right. You haven't earned the right to do that unless you're giving a little bit too in discovery. I'm going to add that. What are you giving, or are you only taking? What are you giving in discovery, or are you only taking? What does that mean? Are you sharing something? Are you creating conversation? Are you helping them feel comfortable? Are you getting them to laugh? Are you getting them to feel comfortable? Are you creating unscripted sentences? Or is it question, answer, why? Why? But why? Why? Right?
But Dan, I heard somebody interviewed by Roger Short, and he was saying that he always opens up his call with why he got into the business. I know we're trained not to come as the hero, and I get that, but this might be speaking to a little bit of what you're naming here. Like he's really, I forget the guy's name, you probably know him. He talks about like saving people out of a burning building, and that like his mission is to really be helpful. He's communicating that. So there could be some, even with our tone, that we're communicating that we care, we've been there, we've got empathy, just ways to kind of connect on a deeper level than just firing questions off, is what I get from his.
There is absolutely room in discovery to share in a sentence or two how you can connect with someone.
Yep.
Without having to go into a whole dialogue about it.
Yep.
Right? Like I totally get it. Like I'll say sometimes when I ask people how many grandkids they have and great grandkids, that's so awesome. Like my grandmother passed away when she was 83, and I was so fortunate that she was able to meet my two kids. That's really special for you. Next question.
Yep.
Right? So it's just what are we giving where we're starting to earn the right to ask questions and ask why, or are we only taking? Okay, that's important. You told me earlier, the stronger your discovery, the stronger your education. If we always just stay the same, if we are speaking to Mildred the same way we speak to Michael, the same way we speak to Steve, the same way we speak to David, the same way, and we're just going through our pitch like for term versus whole life with this, like it's the same, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong if you explain it to them the same way every time, because that means you don't have any part of their story. Your goal should be, you told me earlier, or you shared with me earlier that, right? And bridge that into why you're helping them understand this section. So it's relevant to them. So they justify, so they don't say, can you just get on with it? Right? Because when you talk about them, when it becomes about them and their story, now it's relevant. Good. Now, if you do this section right, if you do education right, what happens? What do they typically say? For those who have experienced it, what do they say?
Yeah,
Nobody's ever explained that to me before.
Right.
Yes. Nobody has ever explained it to me like that before. Because we're not, term is temporary, it lasts for so many years and then it cancels. Whole life is permanent. That's what people get to pay for their funeral costs. Makes sense? Okay, we're moving on. Check that box. Right? Bland. This whole time, we're still working on staying engaging, still creating energy on the phone, inserting your personality. I can hear Dave in my head in this part right here. Why would you want a term policy that's just going to cancel? That's crazy, right? I mean, like, where is your personality in all of these sections too, right? We are actors. We have to act as if like our paycheck depends on this, which it does. But are we acting that way? Are we just going through the motions? Dave goes for sure. For sure, because you have to care about it so much that it forces them to care about it. It's infectious. That's why professional motivational speakers like Tony Robbins or who else? Who else? Give me someone else that's like really captivating on stage.
Eric Thomas.
Brown.
Okay, whoever that is, that's why you could just stare at a room and you have that belief. It's because of how they portray it. That's what makes them so engaging. If Tony Robbins just stood there and just talked to you in front of the stage and didn't have any emotion, didn't yell and didn't move his body and didn't have these pauses and didn't speak life into you, it wouldn't be as impactful. Right? And none of what we're talking about today has anything to do with following your script verbatim. None of it. This is how you change yourself from just being someone who thinks that life insurance is, we're calling people who want life insurance and we're getting them a policy and making it a numbers game, to someone who speaks life into people to help motivate them to make a change. And every part of this is important. All right, anything else? Anyone else want to add anything to education?
I would say the part before funeralocity where you put them back into the mind frame of having to deal with the funeral.
Like in Discovery or
No, education before funeralocity.
have you ever had to plan or pay for a funeral before? Isn't that in that part of figuring out how much coverage they need?
Yeah, but
Education.
what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, that's not in education though. Right? Is that right or am I wrong?
Give me a second. Let me go back in the script.
Oh, that's uncover the need.
Yeah, uncover the need.
After.
That's after. Yep. So uncover the need. Now, uncovering the need is also a place where I think people get stuck. Funeralocity is a great tool, but I don't want us to be so dependent on it that now we're taking people where they don't want to go. Right? We get force them there because they've already told us that they know how much a funeral cost. And we're like, well, let me just take you there anyways. Right? That's not listening to what the customer needs or asking them permission. Would it be helpful if I looked that up for you? And just doing it anyways. Sometimes if they are just like, don't even care about paying for their funeral and they just want to leave $10,000 to their family, like, what are we even on there for? Sometimes I hear people still going to Funeralocity because they think they have to do it. And the guy's like already paid for their funeral. So knowing when to use your tools and when to pivot. And that's really listening and understanding what your client needs. So what are some of the ways that we can really understand how much coverage someone needs without just running to Funeralocity and telling them that a funeral costs like $5,000? How can you leverage this section to your benefit and your client's benefit?
We ask them if they have planner paid for a funeral before, asking them like if they knew if they remember what the cost was and stuff like that. So using their own experience.
Good. What else?
Ask them why they believe they need whatever number they have in their head.
Okay. Yeah, if you didn't find that out in discovery, now would be a great time to circle back to that. If you need that, confirm coverage amount, why, and then at that point, if you still maybe feel like their expectations are too high for what it would cost, then here it would be really probably a good idea to ask permission to look it up. Because if it's just you telling them and just saying, well, the average cost is actually this, and they're still trying to figure you out as who you are as the expert, it doesn't work as well as if you say, well, our company actually has access to a database that has the current pricing for every funeral home in the country. Would it be helpful if I look that up for you so we can get a good idea of what maybe it looks like today? Would that be helpful for you? Right? And then I need them to say, yes, actually, that would be great if you could do that for me. But sometimes people are going too far into the weeds here, and I'm hearing sales resistance. Oh, I don't want to go to that funeral home. And do I have to call them first? And I don't know what that costs. And we're creating actually unnecessary confusion in our client's mind by taking them somewhere and then explaining it to them before we even knew they wanted to go there. So you got to really, really be careful here to make sure you're not creating too many more things for your client to think about. Keep it simple. Keep it really, really simple here. If you do a good job in discovery and education, this is really a short part. You shouldn't be in here for a long time. It should be really, really 3 minutes, not long at all, a short part. Tim says, knowing they've gotten quotes for 15,000 that have been too expensive. Knowing they've gotten quotes for 15,000 that have been too expensive.
We might have to walk them down from that. If they're
Yeah,
thinking 15, we may have to walk them down from that here.
Walk them down and be okay looking at less. Here's another part of where strategy comes in. And this is where some new agents get messed up in the head too. I know that if I quote them something that's getting closer to 120, 150, 160, 200, that the chances of me getting that sale or increasing resistance at that price point is going to be super high. Because who is your customer? You have to know your customer. Who is your avatar? We call her Mildred, right? Mildred. She's living on a fixed income. She's getting $800 to $1,200 a month. She's struggling to put food on the table. Where does she live? Does she live in an apartment? Does she live in a mobile home? Does she live in a house? Do her locks work? Does she have cracks in her windows? When's the last time she bought a new pair of shoes? Who brings her groceries? What grocery store does she go to? Create the story of who your client is in your mind and think about, okay, well, I have a quote for you for 15,000. That's only $216 a month. This happens, right? Because we're not thinking about who these people really are. Who are they? They say they can't afford it because people like us are telling them it's $250 a month. So this part right here, talking them down, is because I know I got to get as close to $100 or less as possible. Joe had it right here. Goal should be 60 to 80. That's the sweet spot. So if we can talk them down to a place where we end up giving them quotes in an affordable price range, that's really what they're looking for. It's really what they're looking for. And I don't care if they don't get the 20,000 that they said they wanted. Because you know what? Now I know that their family's going to get 8,000, which is a heck of a head start towards anything else they would have had to come out of pocket for. I did this family a great favor by helping this person put something in place for their family. That's my job. Timothy, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I have a question about this because how can we know, how can we deal with the expectations if it's like, no, I want the 25,000 or the, and we want to try and attack that during education, but how do we actually know what to talk them down to or even have that discussion if we haven't like taken their like ask the medical questions, know what they could actually qualify for, and like I guess that's kind of where I'm stuck. Like how can we talk them? How can we get them to like educate them on realistic expectations if
If you don't have the answers to what it's going to cost. So
right.
part of it is experience, but part of it is you could go into toolkits when you're getting to know someone in discovery, and you can put in their age and their state and $10,000, and you can see what the price is for level, and you can see what the price is for graded. You can just start getting an idea of where you need to be.
And Timothy, can I add something on that, to that?
Yeah, for sure.
On the recommending options, so when you said like it's even more important to find something comfortable and affordable for you. So if we can find something, so if the 25,000 that you're looking for ends up not being affordable, are you open to look some other options? And that's when they say, well, yeah, I'm open to look some other options. So that means like they will want to get something a little bit lower if the 25,000 it's above their budget. Does that make sense?
I
Can I,
double down there in asking why questions, by the way. That's where I choose to double down. Because if I'm the one that's saying, hey, are you open to looking at less? Because I'm trying to talk them down the ledge. Like I need them to defend that to me. Like, what would you mind sharing with me why you'd be okay with maybe getting a little bit less? How you ask it is also really important. And why would you be okay with that? Very different.
Yeah, plus I think I mean it's probably just the beginning. I probably get so much pushback with the pricing because it's like I'm drilling them right from the get-go, like why? So by the time we get to that, it's like so this is a good session for me for sure.
I would go back to this one right here. What are you giving? Are you only taking? And it sounds like you had much better conversations yesterday.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%.
Okay. So the uncover the need goes back to we have to educate them, goes back to we have to understand where they've been. Doesn't always necessarily need to be in this order, but we have to conceptually understand what we're trying to accomplish so we can help like we have the best odds of being able to help someone. Okay. We are in underwriting. How much time should we be spending in underwriting? Timothy.
Not 30 minutes. So
5 minutes max.
Goal is 5-ish minutes. Why is the goal to not spend a lot of time in underwriting?
Because
Based on
they're
the
thinking
stories.
logically in underwriting. We lose everything that we created in discovery.
They get frustrated.
They get tired, frustrated. It lengthens the call. Lengthens.
and there's normally something they didn't tell you anyways that you find out. So if you take 35 minutes to do some amazing thing and then it comes up and they've got this and they're like, oh, so
Usually missing, you're usually not even, I think I shared a call review on one of our recordings here where, oh, he's in perfect health, right? Just blood pressure and this and that gets declined again, find out he has 3 memory meds. Right, Sydney?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like you're never like what's the point if you might miss something anyways. The goal, the second goal, here, I'm just going to do this. Really, the goal is to get them to say yes to your offer, right? And so the longer it takes for you to get there, and like you exhaust them in spelling out their medications and asking them all the follow-up questions and toolkits. There's like 11 of them that you don't even need to even look at, right? We're just like, wait, why am I doing this again? Right? That's what happens. So a really good rule of thumb is anything major, anything minor. Are you taking meds? So what for? Or have you been prescribed meds that you aren't taking? If so, what for? Okay, these are like the big things. All right, let's talk about your health. Anything major that you can think of in the last 5 years with your heart, with your lungs, with your circulation, any cancer, anything major that you can think of that has caused you to, get sick, right? Okay, let's talk about anything minor. Anything minor, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. Yes, I have diabetes. Okay, do you take insulin or do you take the pill? Right? Because we know that some companies won't take insulin. So, oh, I take insulin. Okay, cool. So now I might probably put insulin in there, diabetes with insulin. You have any complications from your diabetes, right? So there's some things where you might have to ask additional questions. There's some things that you don't, and you'll learn that as you go. But really, what you're looking for is anything major. And then always lead with AMAM if you can, because they will tell you the medications that came up that your client didn't tell you, so you know exactly how to pivot. Don't get stuck on the cheapest policy. They don't know, right? What's that phrase? They're never going to know. They're going to know. They're never going to know. They won't know, right? We need to do what's easiest and the path of least resistance. And that will give us the best chance to help them in the best possible way. All right, so don't get too stuck in underwriting. Don't ask all the 1,012 health questions within the health questions. Perfect. All right, so the last part is recommending options. There's lots of different ways you can do this, but let's just put ourselves in the mind of our avatar Mildred again. Okay, I want you to picture her. I want you to picture her or Milton in your mind. Where are they sitting? What does their carpet look like? Do their socks have holes in them? How often do they see their kids? What does their fridge look like? How many doctor's appointments do they have this week? How many friends do they have? Do they play bingo? What are we going to have for lunch? What time do they wake up in the morning? I really want you to know them. And then I want you to think about what it sounds like. Hold on, I'm going to read that Fred in a second. And then I want you to picture what it sounds like when you say, okay, I have 3 options for you. I have a 20K for 186, I have a 15K for 150, and I got a 10K for 86. Which one sounds good to you? Right? These are extremes. I'm not saying you guys are doing this, but I just want you to think about that. When you really put yourself in the mind of your prospect. What is it going to take for them to feel comfortable to make a decision? This is why I typically give them one recommendation. Now, before I give you any other options, how does that feel? And I justify it and I make them sit there and think about it. And I make it real and I make it affordable, right? Because statistically, with experience, most people are good with 60 to 80, somewhere in there. And I want it to be something that's affordable. If they want to go up, great. If I quoted too low and they maybe could have afforded $100 a month, is that an opportunity to go back to them maybe later and make a friend like Dave does and add a little bit coverage later? It's okay. We're still helping, right? Fred, what did you say? Oh, whoa, Leanne.
Yeah, I was just responding to Leanne directly.
Okay. Leanne, I'm going to read this out loud, okay? I'm realizing again why I'm
That's
struggling.
fine. Sorry.
I don't trust myself to just be me. I don't even know what that sounds like. Not that I'm not genuine, but I guess I don't trust I could navigate without a script. The be myself advice sends me in a spiral because myself is insecure, awkward, and I don't know enough yet to sound like an expert they can trust. I fear that I am not someone people would want to talk to because I'm not good at casual conversation.
No, Amy.
I guess maybe I don't feel like I have any natural ability to connect with people. I've convinced myself that I have to learn that. When David talked about calling clients just to connect, that scares me. What would I even say? It's definitely way out of my comfort zone, but I love sales. I love learning how to connect and help someone, and I'm not afraid to have the hard conversations. I love the psychology of sales, and I'm good at empathizing, listening, and guiding. Danelle is not wrong. This is a self-esteem business. Man, that was deep. It's hard. Tim, go ahead.
So I think one thing new agents struggle with is because we can have so many carriers, we want to have so many carriers. And then you don't know how to do their applications and you're not confident in yourself. I mean, just turn 2 carriers on in toolkits and just use those 2 until you're expert at those, and then add another one and get an expert at that one. I mean, Lincoln Heritage, we sold 1 carrier. So you don't need to have a lot. Sell AmAm, get really good at it, and then after you're really good at that one, go to another one.
What Tim is saying in another way is it's prospect knowledge over product knowledge all day long. All day long. That's why I'm so grateful I only had Lincoln Heritage for the first almost 5 years of this career. The most expensive carrier, half of our business was modified. I wasn't shopping around for level. I didn't think it was the end of the world if someone came to me and I knew they were going to be graded, right? I still got to help them. I still got them to feel so good about helping their family and putting their family in a better position, because it wasn't a better position to me is not finding them level coverage. A better position to me was helping them feel good about saying yes, because they've been stuck for so long, afraid of not making a decision because no other agent was able to help connect the dots for them so that they can move forward finally. And that's why I get so crazy about like, stop it with the level carriers, you guys. Like, you're missing the point. Yes, I want to put them in the best position with the level carrier if possible, but is that what is going to get them to say yes? Because if that was the case, everybody would say yes if you had level, but that's not the case. Look at here. So Leanne, yeah, Leanne has read What to Say When you talk to yourself. She was in every meeting with me when we went over that book. She actually knows that better than probably most of us in here. something she actively practices. I know that, for a fact, very intentional about it. I do think, Leanne, it would be very beneficial for you to put the script away for a minute. Right? Because, and this is why I wanted to do this exercise today. Let me just finish typing this here.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So this is to you, Leanne. I would want 100 of you on my team. Like, if I can have everybody be a Leanne, I would have the most amazing team, because there's so much that you have that you can't teach. You can't teach someone drive. You can't teach someone wanting to get better. You can't teach a lot of what you have. So the stuff that you're dealing with, they not all of us, we can help you get through that. But don't second short yourself. You are amazing. And I mean, I'm telling you, if you called me up, I would sit and talk to you all day. Like, you just have a heart of gold. You're the perfect person to do this. And if there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
The biggest battle in this business is what's between our ears.
Yeah.
That's the biggest battle. And I've had really deep, long one-on-one conversations with a lot of you guys trying to get that battle and push through. And the thing about sales is there isn't a perfect script, right? There's just like a human connection here. There's a human element here. And as long as you understand like the things that are important to understand about our client and what they need to feel good and feel safe, a lot of that doesn't happen unless we give a little bit of us. Right? We have to be vulnerable. We have to be vulnerable too on the phones and just really try to connect with someone, Fred.
Yeah, so excuse me. This is definitely for Leanne, but I guess everybody else too. So Leanne, let me ask you a question. Do you think that you would be better at this script aside if you were face to face with somebody rather than over the phone?
I don't know, to be honest.
All right, so I think, honestly, and I met you at 8%, I don't think you have any problems, issues, or concerns about how you communicate, how you connect with people. You come across as the most caring, maternal is a great word. I have no idea if you have kids or not, but you're an angel in the way you speak to people. You have this soft energy about you that is just comforting, and it blows my mind because I struggle with things like insecurity and I've spoken in front of 1,000 people. Um, it blows my mind to think that you don't think you connect with people. So I would, if I could advise you anything, to try to think about it as if you really were talking to somebody. I think face to face, you could sell ice to Eskimos just by being you. And I think you're getting caught up in a process here that is really not the important part of the process. The words are the words, right? It's you that you really want to have come out. I think that's the whole point of this. And I don't want to, I'm no expert on anything other than when it comes to what I know about you from my own personal experience. Um, One suggestion that I used to make to people, and I don't know if anybody's done this or if it works for anybody, I used to keep pictures of old people on my screen. I had an old white woman, I had an old black guy, I had an old, uh, Native American, and whoever I was talking to, my perception of that person on the phone, I'd be looking at that picture. And I was having a conversation with my computer screen, but I was really having a conversation that was more thoughtful or at least more relevant in my mind. And that might have just been some mental masturbation, but it worked. And maybe that's something that you could use to engage with people as yourself rather than just concentrating on the script for whatever that's worth.
Thank you, Fred. I appreciate that. Sydney just went through something recently that has everything to do with this and kind of where you're at right now, Leanne. And what I love most about this community is that we all care about each other so much and we all want each to see each other win. So, Sydney, I'd like you to share kind of what you just went through and how you were able to get out of it based on this type of conversation.
Yeah, so Lan, literally, like just last week, I was losing my mind because I was like talking to so many people, but I was like, you know how whenever you're struggling, kind of like Chris talked about earlier, whenever we want a sale so badly, we think that we have to do it perfectly, like read the words verbatim, because if we say the sentence, word it differently, it's not going to be just like Dana would say it, and we're not going to make the sale. So like that's where I was in my head last week. Like I cried so much last week. And Dana and I FaceTimed, I think on Thursday, and she was like, dude, just be you. Like, I think you're so focused on following the script verbatim that like you're losing yourself in the process. And because if I'm reading the words of someone else, like I don't sound like Sydney, you know? I am not a like, hi, this is Sydney. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You know? And so Friday I started doing that. Like, and then my conversations flowed so much more naturally. Like I was doing well on the phones. Like I actually closed policies and I wasn't so focused on like following the script, or actually minimized the script. I took it away, because if it's in front of me, I'm going to follow it, you know? But even if I didn't close something, after we would hang up, like I felt okay. I wasn't like this panic, because I was like, oh, like I know that I've sold this. I've been me on the phone before. I know that I can do it. So like, let's just move on to the next person. But like being in that spot is really hard. I know where you are, because I was just there last week. So I get it. But if you just like, as long as we're touching on the important parts and just connect with people, it flows so much more naturally and people feel more of a connection to you because you're being yourself on the phone.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, last couple minutes, and then I do want us to jump on the phones. But let's not forget about the cool down, right? The cool down, not like congratulations, call me if you need anything. Like let's spend 5 to 10 minutes. Like you should be spending more time in the cool down than you are in underwriting. Right? More minutes just talking about nothing. Weekend plans, family visits, next doctor appointment, favorite show, food, nonsense stuff. Okay, and then write it down. So you have something of substance that means something to them when you call them back. And maybe you did only sell them a $60 policy and they could afford $100. Well, who are they going to buy from when they're looking for more coverage now? Right? Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about is not being stressed about going in the exact order every time. Okay, so we know what we have to get, we know when we have to get it, but we have to have the intuition to know what type of conversation this person needs to have right now at this moment. Are they coming in with like, oh, my husband just died and I need to put something in place for my kids? They're probably ready to have an emotional conversation. We're going to go into discovery and we're going to try and go deep. Yeah, I just saw this ad for $25,000. Like, what's the price for that? Okay, well, like, who are you trying to protect? No, I don't want to talk about any of that. Not a problem. We're moving away from discovery and we're going to go into credibility and education, and we're going to try to lower their wall, and then we're going to try and circle back. We're going to try again. So be flexible with yourself to understand what type of conversation is this person ready to have with me, and am I only what did I say? Am I only taking or am I also giving? Okay. And once we have these fundamentals down, we find ourselves in the conversation. We try to be friendly a little bit. We share something about ourselves, but we also have in the back of our mind, we got to get this information so we can still be strategic. Maybe not in this order. That's kind of when it all comes to life. And if I'm talking about this right now and it sounds really overwhelming, that's okay. That just means that you're at a different place in your learning journey. But having these conversations, continuing to show up for training, being vulnerable, practicing it on your calls, failing forward, all that stuff, that's part of the journey. It just is. It's part of the journey. I've been doing this now for 21 years and it's still part of the journey. Okay. So, any other last minute questions or comments before we hit the phones?
Dana, this was the best training I've ever experienced. Thank you. Please post this because I'm going to watch this all weekend. Okay. Please.
Recorded 100%. Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually remind you, I'm sure I didn't miss it, but I think another important conversation as it relates to this is you were talking about before about digging in with the whys and how many whys is too much. And I know we're way over, but it would definitely be a 0.20 part of this conversation to dig into really the psychology of what the prospect is hearing when you're hammering them with why. And before I get my why tattoo removed, because it's the most important word in our job, I want to make sure I really understand it.
It is. Yeah. And 100%, right? Training isn't something we do once. Training is something we do always. And no matter how big Empower Life Group gets, I will always be here at the forefront, continuing to train and work on the same stuff over and over and over again, because that's the core of what's going to keep us sharp at our job and sharp at what we do. And it's not the script, it's you guys, right? It's you guys. But why is important? I'll get you know what? That's a good idea. I think I'm going to get why tattooed on me somewhere. That's funny. That's funny.
Do I
Do you want
hear
us to email you our
do I
bullet
hear a
points?
field trip for the California telesales boot camp to the tattoo parlor?
The tattoo. Talk about the
California.
California boot camp on Monday when I have more people on the
Alright.
call here. Yeah, because that is live.
Do you want us